the Uprising on the NorthWestFM, home of the best music. And we promise you that we're going to be speaking to somebody who will help us find ourselves. And we've got on the line Paula Quinsee, who's a coach, speaker, mentor, and author. If I were to go through all of Paula's titles, we would need a separate show for that. Apparently, Paula is the right person to speak to if you want to discover the direction, that you want to head down, your life. And she can help us design strategic goals that will ensure that we get there effortlessly. Paula, good morning and welcome to the Uprising.
Hi, good morning, guys. Great to be on the show.
Thank you so much for making time to speak to us. First of all, is it a bad thing, for me, in the middle of my life, I suppose they call it midlife crisis, for me to pause and say, I think I've lost direction?
It's actually much more common than we realize. And I think it's because as we evolve and go through different life stages in our life, our priorities and our outlook on life changes. But very often we don't stop to reflect on where we're at, what's important to us, and where we're going to. That gives us the sense of my life has no purpose or no meaning, and therefore I'm in crisis mode.
Okay. So, at that point, I then approach an individual like you. Where do you start? I come to you and I say, I've got this job. It pays me pretty well. I got this wonderful marriage that I'm in. We got the kids. Everything is just square. But I don't feel the soul in my life. I don't feel the energy. All the dreams and, the planned happiness I had when I was still in varsity, it doesn't seem to be there. For an individual like you, where do you start unpacking all of this and trying to help me find direction?
So the first step would be understanding what is it that is not working in your life? What is working in your life? And do you have any idea of where you want to go to? So we would start unpacking in those various areas first, identifying the possible sources of where this discontentment is coming from, or this feeling of being unfulfilled and unhappy. And then getting to work towards, what are the things that do make you happy, or what do you want to do that you think would give you a sense of feeling more fulfilled and that you've got purpose in life. And once we've identified those areas, we then start looking at putting an action plan in place to change those things.
A lot of us, we get into marriages, and then we have, not that marriage is a bad thing at all, and then we have kids, and then we live for our children. Even young couples these days, it's a thing now for you to be supportive of your children, which is great. But then it becomes a problem when all of your life goals, they take second fiddle to those of your children, and you're likely to get lost. Am I lost, or I just misunderstand my purpose in that space?
So this is also, again, a common thing that does happen in relationships, where we lose our sense of individuality and we lose our own sense of identity. In other words, we put everyone else's needs first before our own needs. And we lose sense of self and what our real, what the meaning of life is and what's important to us and what brings us joy. And so it's very important when you go into a relationship to retain your sense of self and individuality, but then also collectively co-create the us, the we, the ours, which is the relationship part as well as the family unit part.
Paula, talking direction and motivation, as Pat has mentioned that, when life happens, we've got the families, the marriages, and the kids, and most of our goals and our direction, and goals in life, they always take second place. How can we keep motivated to still be on the same lane in terms of my direction, success-wise, and not actually neglect myself, neglect the goals and the family as well?
So it's about that elusive work-life balance myth that a lot of people talk about. And everybody's life is different. Lifestyle is different. So it's about finding the balance that works for you and your lifestyle, because your life is different to other people. Your path is different. So a lot of the time we compare ourselves to others in terms of what we perceive success looks like. But we don't know the journey of those other people and the challenges or obstacles that they have had to overcome to get there. And a lot of the time because we live in a world of instant gratification, we measure ourselves by a lot of material things. For example, the house we live in, the car we drive, the job title, and all of those things. But a lot of those things don't give us, they actually contribute to our lifestyle, but they don't give us that sense of fulfillment and purpose, and that I'm adding value somewhere. So the key thing,
you should say that, yeah?
Yeah, the key thing is once you know where you're going and the goals that you have in mind, you need to have a very clear action plan of steps that are going to take you to your goal to help you fulfill and achieve your goal. And along the way, it's how do you celebrate those small successes, but also put support structures in place for those days or moments when you lose the motivation and you need to still pick yourself up and keep going.
Well, I know that, and you touched on it. Comparison is the thief of joy. Somebody said, I don't know who said that.
Yes, absolutely.
But the reality is we're in a competition, Paula, and maybe even if you were to turn around and say, I'm in competition with myself, if I see my neighbor has just purchased a new vehicle, I need to ask myself, what am I competing against? And all these material trappings have become how we define that we're successful. I don't think anybody, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm willing to accept it if I'm wrong. Nobody ever sits back and says, well, I'm in my 40s, man, I've got a great personality. And, my family loves me. Boy, and I've got that relationship with, co-workers. It means everything is okay. I'm successful.
Yeah, and again, that word success, if we ask each one of us here that are chatting right now, our versions of success would be very different to each other. So when we measure ourselves or compare ourselves to others, we're actually doing ourselves an injustice. We're not being fair on ourselves, and we're not being fair on that other person for that matter. And sometimes that can result in unrealistic expectations. And if you're seeing your neighbor buying the latest BMW or Mercedes-Benz, you don't know what their financial position is and what they've had to do to be able to afford that car. And it may not be, your financial affordability to match that. So it's about having realistic expectations according to your lifestyle, your circumstances, your financial well-being, and all of those things. And a lot of the time, when we meet people or we're talking to people, we ask them all these material questions, but very seldom do we say or ask the question, are you happy?
That's very true.
Yeah, you hear people say it's better to be unhappy in Dubai than to be unhappy in a shack with a guy who doesn't have a car. These are sort of things that we get confronted with. Paula, should this be effortless though? Because I love the part where you can help us to be, to get to where we want effortless. Effortlessness is hard.
Look, I don't ever think anything in life is effortless because what you put in is what you get out, but you certainly don't have to make it hard for yourself where every day feels like a real challenge and a real slog, grind day every day. It doesn't have to be like that. If you have clarity on where you're going, if you've put the right action steps in place to get you there, it's a process, and change happens over time, not overnight. So we also need to be realistic with the time frame and the expectations that we put on ourselves to achieve the things that we say we want to achieve.
Paula is that life coach. I will make you not go to church. You go to church, you get told your blessing is coming, and Paula says, no, just work. Take it easy. Don't spend more than you earn, and give yourself time, focus, and you will get to your goal. Come and see me next week.
my thing, Pat and Paula, my thing is distraction. I was saying to a friend of mine that, we have our life goals, we have our career goals, we want to get somewhere. But these little distractions that we get in between are the ones that somehow pull us back or kind of forget your direction, forget the goal. I don't know. That's where I'm at.
That's comparison. Paula, talk about it.
So is that comparison, Paula?
But comparison is one of the things, but also distraction. We get very easily distracted by the latest fad or fashion or trend that's happening around us because we see it all the time. Social media is a big thing, and people only post what they want you to see on social media. So it's not necessarily real what you're seeing. People don't post the bad days when they're having a bad day or when they're really going through a tough time. They only post the happy pictures, and that's also unrealistic.
Oh, coming from you, Paula, it just makes a lot of sense. We should talk to you a lot. I love the fact that you're so calm about it. You're not doing a hard sell, you know?
Yeah.
You're not doing a hard sell. It's just, think, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Paula, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hope to chat to you again soon.
Thank you, team, and happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you as well. Paula Quinsee,